everyone. My name is Blaine Carter. I am a product manager at Oracle for Visual Builder and Visual Builder Studio. Today, I'm here to talk about the Visual Builder add-in for Excel. Joining me today is Alex Davis. He's the brains behind the plugin, and he will be running the Q&A behind the scenes. So if you have any questions, just drop those in the Q&A tab. You should see a button somewhere down there that says Q&A, and he will get those questions answered for you. So what is the Visual Builder add-in for Excel? So the add-in allows you to leverage the familiar Excel interface for interfacing with application data. So the short of this is the plugin will let you do all kinds of different things. Mainly, it's intended to allow you to access the data from your Visual Builder's business objects, which also allows you to impose business rules on those backend business rules so that the data entered through Excel can be controlled with the business objects. And it also allows you to access other REST services. Mainly, you can access most of the Oracle Fusion Cloud application APIs, or something like ORDS, or there's quite a few others. If you have a REST service and you want to use this add-in to connect to some other REST service, as long as you can define the API using like an open API standard, you should be able to get in there. If you'd like to learn more, there's a URL there at the bottom of the screen that will take you to this page, which has a whole bunch of information on here, how to install the plugin, the documentation. And the thing that I will be demoing today is this little try the tutorial section right here, which looks like this. I'll be walking through most of the features in the tutorial, and I will be adding in a couple other things. So what I'll be doing is I'll show you how to install, update, and remove the add-in. And then I will show you how to use the add-in to connect to a Visual Builder business object, followed by how to, once that's connected, I'll show you how to customize the table that's in the spreadsheet, and then run some query and CRUD operations, query, insert, update, delete, how to set query criteria on the spreadsheet. And then once you have the spreadsheet working the way you want it, how to publish the spreadsheet so the published version will not have the editor tools. So you can set some rules on there and send it out to your users, and they can just access the things you'd like them to access. After that, I'll show you the other option, rather than just create a table, how to create a form over the table. And then I will show you how to enforce the business rules on the back end. And lastly, I will show you how to connect to the ORDS endpoint, assuming I don't get too windy when I talk and run out of time. But let's switch over to here. All right, so the first thing I want to do is I want to show you how to install the plugin. That's not where I need to go. I want to go to here. So the easiest way to install the plugin is to start with inside of your Visual Builder app. Now, this particular app comes from the tutorial in here. If you use this link here, you'll download this zip file. When you import it, it will look like this. I've added a couple business rules on here that I'll get to later, but other than that, this app is what you see when you start the tutorial. The easiest way to get it is to go into your business objects and click this little link here, go to Data Manager, and click I would like to edit data in Excel, and it will download the MSI that you can use for install. Let me close that and go back over. I have already downloaded a couple different versions. I'm going to start with the older version so I can show you the upgrade. Let me open a spreadsheet, make sure. Okay, so I don't have it already installed. I've uninstalled it. So now watch, this is the hard part. I double click on that. I hit next, I hit install, and I'm done. The options that were there are if you want to install it for basically user mode so that you don't have the tools. I don't want to do that because I want to actually create the spreadsheet. So when we come back in here, you'll see that now I have the Oracle Visual Builder tab up here. And to see if there's an update, you can go under Advanced, check for updates. And of course, there's an update because I installed an older version. So you could use this link and download the current version, or I've already downloaded the current version to save a little bit of time. And I'm going to just double click on that. And here it will say I'm updating the add-in. I'll hit next. I'll hit install. And that is as hard as it is to upgrade your add-in. Now, when I come back in, I will hit check for updates, and it says I'm up to date. So one thing that I typically look for as an indicator of good software is the ability to cleanly uninstall the software. And with the add-in, it's pretty simple. You just take the current, the version of the add-in that you have already installed, you double click that and you say remove, and next, and remove, and there it goes. It is now no longer installed. But of course, I want to have it installed since I'm going to demo it. It's probably easier to do the demo with the add-in installed. So I will, let's see, got that there. Okay, so back to the spreadsheet. Now, before I open the spreadsheet, fifth, sixth time, notice that I've named, in fact, I'm going to delete this one. Notice that I've named the spreadsheet employees-source. That'll come into play later, but I'm going to open the employees-source spreadsheet. I'm going to come into Visual Builder, and I want to open the designer and add a catalog of data to my spreadsheet. Now, where you get this web address is you go back to your app, you find the business object that you want to link into your spreadsheet, you go into endpoints, you expand resource API, and you want to get one of these metadata URIs here. Now, since I haven't published this, it's not in staging, it's not live, I'm going to take the development one, just hit that copy button, go back over here, paste that in as the address and hit next. Now we have security on this, so all right, so going through these screens, it's kind of giving me a just a summary of what's happening with the new catalog I'm creating. I want to use the employees object, and you'll notice right here, employees has two predefined children already defined, and that was defined by the business object over in your Visual Builder app right here. So I want a table layout. I'll come to form over table later. I'll hit next. I'll hit finish. And boom, it's ready to go. Download the data, and you can see I have all of my data coming in from my business object. All right, so now that we're connected up, I don't like the way this is set up. I'd like to do a little bit of a cleanup. So for example, I'd like the email column to be further to the left. So over here, I'm going to click on columns. And there's two ways you can move these around. Of course, you can drag and drop the little, too high for my thing. You can drag and drop this around, or if you right click on the little handle there, you can, if I can click it correctly, you can click move to top. And notice when I change this, that it also dynamically changed over here. So let's download the data again. And now it's there. You get a couple extra columns in here that change the status and the key columns. These are admin columns that the add-in uses to keep track of what's going on. So notice over here, you're not able to move those around or to change them. Just basically ignore those, and the tool will use them. All right, so the next thing I want to do is I'd like to make it a little easier for my users to find the data that they want. So I'm going to add some query criteria to the, let me just double check here, to the query. I'm gonna add some criteria to the query. There we go. So I'll click on this in the designer. I'll click on the query tab, And then next to search, I'm going to click the pencil to edit. I want to allow them to query based on salary. So I'll click that, and I want to make this greater than, and I'll throw in the default value of 10,000. This little checkbox here, what that does is if it's checked, it allows your users to change the criteria here, but not the column. If you uncheck this like that, when they run the query, it's going to always be greater than. They will be able to put the number in there. So I'll hit enter. And now when I download the data, I get this up. Notice I cannot change the greater than. I can change this. Let's get everybody who makes more than 10,000. All right, so there is the data for the people who make more than 10,000. All right, so that's really quick and easy how to get the spreadsheet started. So the next thing I want to do is I want to take this spreadsheet and I want to send it out to my users, but I don't want them to have access to the designer tools. So I'm going to hit publish. Now, remember when I said the spreadsheet was named employees-source? That will be changed to just employees. It's going to make a new spreadsheet, the one I deleted at the beginning. You can check these different options here. They're pretty self-explanatory. So I'm just going to hit publish, and it created a new spreadsheet. So let me get back over there. You'll see now I have a new employees spreadsheet. And under the Visual Builder, I do not have the design tools. So I'm going to download the data. And all right, so I can run the query. I can change this to 10,001, hit OK, and it goes out and gets the data. So editing the data is fairly simple. It's just the same thing you would do in a normal spreadsheet. So for maybe for example, we want to make Lisa is going to be vice president, and we'll put her in human resources. So notice over here in the change column, this says I'm updating this record. Maybe I want to get rid of John. Maybe John's left the company. He's found something a little better to go do, at least in his mind, because of course my company's awesome. I'm going to come over here and hit mark for delete. So it puts the delete there. If I want to insert a record, I can just right click and insert a row. And then notice the required fields up here: email, last name, and department. And they're all pre-highlighted in red. So it does do some pre-checking of your conditions before it even sends the data up. I'm going to put someone at example.com. Someone, and we're going to hire that someone today. We're going to put that person as an accountant, and we'll make the criteria met so that let's make it 12,000 so that it'll show up in my little query, because there's a lot of rows in there and I don't want to search through them all. And we will put that someone in the now we'll put the accountant in the sales department. Now, notice I said earlier that there were two child relationships set up over in Visual Builder for the departments in the job. The add-in automatically makes these into LOVs for you, or at least lookups. So that's something you don't have to do. Let's see. So I've got to update, create, and delete. Now I want to push the data, so I'm going to upload my upload my changes. When I do that, if I have a delete, I will get this "Are you sure?" If I don't have a delete, it'll just make the changes. I will say yes, let's update the data. That pushes it up there. Over on this side, I get a little summary of what actually changed. So we updated one row, we created one row, and we deleted one row, and it went really, really fast. So let's pull the data back down. And of course, I forgot how I deleted. I believe it was John. I don't see a John. Oh, there's a John. So I think it was the other John. Either way, we've got same number of records. Since I added one, deleted one, then we should be good. And here's my someone there. Okay, so that is the CRUD functionality. So what happens if I make a mistake? So maybe my someone is making X dollars. This field is defined in the tool as being a number, so you can't make X dollars. So that'll make that red. What is, I think I already, oh, let me copy that, cut that. All right, so if you have a missing field, maybe this is a required field, this will flag. If I hit upload changes, it's going to say that there are, well, apparently I typed something. Let me fix this one and then we'll come back to that one. So if I make 12,000 and I upload, all right, let's pull the data down. Get that, and I'm going to this time try and upload. I think I changed something on the rules on the back end. Anyway, it's a required field, so I can't update it. I will check that when I get back into the side where the builder. In fact, I'll just switch over to there, and let's look at the columns and see why I can't. Okay, so it's not required for update, but it is required on the back end of the tool. So I'm not sure why it said update succeeded. I should have gotten an error there saying I tried to send a null, but I'm guessing normally I changed some other field. So that's the first time I tried to delete an email. But normally I change a different field. I'm assuming that the tool figured out that that didn't work, so it wouldn't let me update it. I will come back to that if there's questions on that, but that's part of the controls in the background. All right, let's see. I did some errors. All right, so next what I want to do is I want to make a form over table. So I'm going to close this, and I don't need to save any of that. So I want to do basically a parent-child type of a screen here. So I'm going to make a new sheet. I'm going to go into Designer, and notice this time when I go into Designer, it's just showing me the catalogs that are predefined. The first time I got the add a new catalog because there were none. When you want to add a new catalog object, you go into Manage Catalogs, and you click Add, and I want to import a business object. So I go back over to Visual Builder, I go to Departments, I go to Endpoints, I look at Resource APIs, I grab that Resource API, I get rid of this one, paste that in there, hit Next. Hopefully I can do the password right. Lab, and this one is. Okay, so that all came in there. That looks good. I'm going to hit Finish, and that adds the department's endpoint to my catalog. So now if I go back to Designer, I can pick departments and I can hit Next, and I will choose departments because that's what I want. I'll hit Next. Notice the form over table layout is not enabled, and that's what I want to do. So I'm going to cancel this. I'm going to go back into my Visual Builder application, and under the departments object, I'm going to take a look at the relationship here. So this enable accessor is unchecked, which is why it won't let me display the child record. So I'm going to check that. I'm going to hit done. That's good on this end. I'm going to go back into Manage Catalogs. I'm going to hit Departments, and I'm going to refresh my catalog object using the same URI. And see if I can get the password right. There we go. Finish. And are you sure you want to refresh it? Yes, I'd like to use the new definition. It's been refreshed. Now when I come back into Designer, I click Departments. When I hit Next, notice this time it does show that there is a child object. So when I hit Next, now I can do the form over table layout. And I hit Next there. And that looks good. I'll hit Next and Finish. And here's a form over table layout. I download the data. It just goes to the first record. So there's accounting. And so maybe what I want to do is give my users just a little bit of control. So I'm going to go back into the query and I'm going to add some search criteria and I'm going to let them query by department name. And here I'm going to set it to contains. I'll leave this enabled so it can be changed later. I'll type in res and hit OK. This time when I pull it down, notice that the res is still there. Notice it's a lowercase because we're using it contains. It doesn't need to be case sensitive. So if I hit OK, now we're in the research department and we can see everybody who's in the research department. I can still edit the data down here. Maybe TJ is really TK, and we'll hit that. We'll upload our changes, and that update succeeded. So you can still do all of the insert, update, delete of your employees through here, but now you can switch to the department that you'd like, or focus on the department. Okay, so notice here that it's displaying 2 for the department ID, and I kind of like that URL or that URI LOV functionality from before. So I'm going to go into table. I'm going to find department, and I'm going to edit the department. I want this to be a list of values, and I'm going to hit enable. I want the referenced business object to be departments. I'll hit OK. I want the identity field to be the primary key, of course. I'll hit there, and the field that I'd like to show instead is the department name. So I'll hit done there. I'll requery, and I'll say yes. And now I have my fancy little LOV again. Now I would not be able to do that with job title that easily because over here I haven't set that relationship up. But if I had another relationship, I could do that easy enough. All right, so that looks good. So at this point, I would hit republish. It takes the name. I'll hit publish. Yes, I'd like to override it. And now when I go back out here and I look at employees, the employees spreadsheet, I have my form over table, download. Let's see if I can do it this time. Oh, that's definitely not the right one. All right. Sign in, take that, and there's my research department. All right, so now that I have that, I want to not close this. I'm going to switch back over to this tab. So now let's say, and of course, this one's going to want me to sign in again. All right, so I've got my employees here making more than 10,000. Maybe I want to make it so that the backend, the business rules, will set the department based on the job title. So this is one piece I've added to this imported application that is not included in the lab. But basically on the employees object, I went into business rules and I created these 2 rules. So if we edit this one, you can see that now this is obviously not how I would set this up in a real application. I just made different, is this an accountant? If it is, set the department to accounting. Is this a lawyer? This could be done a lot more efficiently, but I wanted to have a visual having multiple items there. So it still works either way. If we come in here, you can see if the job ID equals 4, we go over to there, then it will say set department to 1, and so forth through the rest of them. So I've come in, if I go into here and I activate it, and over here I activate it, does the same thing, just both for insert and update. If I come back to my employee spreadsheet that I just published, I haven't made any changes to the spreadsheet. With that activated, if I change this person to vice president. So we're going to promote John to vice president. Notice he's currently legal. I'll upload the data. And now vice president goes in human resources. If I add a new row, wrong click there. Stupid fingers doing exactly what I do and not what I want. X at example.com, and we'll just make an X in here. I'm going to set this to accounting, but I'm going to set this one to software developer. When I upload my changes, it will set the correct department. So without having to change the spreadsheet that I've already emailed out to the entire company, I can just activate the business rules on the back end, and it just magically happens. All right, so that is most of the functionality from the lab, plus the business rules. Let me get back to the other spreadsheet, plus adding a business rule on the back end. So now I'm going to show you how to connect to a different REST endpoint. So for this one, I have set up, here it is. I've set up an ORDS auto rested table. So in my database, I have an ATP database out there, and I created a table called dogs to keep track of my dogs. And I went in and used the auto rest enable feature. Now, if you're not familiar with that, let's say you're using SQL Developer, you can open a table, click on the properties, and go in and say auto rest enable, and it will create a whole CRUD REST API around your table, which is what I've done here. So I wouldn't want to take just this URI and import it into my spreadsheet. Remember, I mentioned before about the open API specification. Notice right here, this is going to ORDS, Excel demo, which is my schema, dogs, which is my table. The difference here is this part's the same. Oh, this part's the same, but I'm going to my schema and I want the open API catalog for my dogs table, which will come out as this. So that's the URI that I want to use when I bring in the next sheet. So once again, it's not already in the catalogs. So I'm going to cancel. I'm going to go manage catalogs. I'm going to hit add, import a business object. And this time I'm going to use, let's see, let's get rid of all of that. Paste this in here. I'm going to use the open API catalog for dogs. I'll hit next. It wants me to sign in, but I didn't add sign in to this. So I'm going to come back here. I made it no authentication because, hey, security, hey, who needs that? Quick demo. So hopefully nobody hacks my dogs table. It'll be gone in about 5 minutes anyway. This time it goes in, found one business object. I'll hit finish. It's been added to my catalog. Now I come back over here. When I hit designer, there's my ORDS generated API for dogs. And I didn't have to name it that. It just, the auto rest enable takes care of all the hard stuff for me. Now I didn't name my endpoint, so I know my endpoint is just /. So I'll click on that. I'll hit next. There are no relations on this. It's just the dogs table. So that's why the forms over table layout is grayed out. I'll hit next. Looks good. I'll hit finish. And I can download my data. So same functionality that we had before, works the same way with the other endpoint. So the only entry I have in here is my dog Whiskey. I don't know if you've heard me talk about my dog Whiskey before, but he's half German Shepherd, half Husky, half Australian Shepherd, and half Black Lab. Yes, I know that equals 2. He's such a good dog, he gets 2. Let's say Whiskey's been putting on a little weight. He's at 90 pounds. Let's make him 93 pounds and update the data. And the insert, update, delete features work just like before. Now, maybe I don't weigh him with a precision scale and I want the data to be an integer. So I can come into columns. I can find his weight. I can edit the weight and I want to make it from number. I want to make that an integer. And I do want to know how much he weighs at all times. So I'm going to mark both of those required for update and required for create. I'll hit done. There, I want his ID. That's the primary key. The primary key is always going to be an integer. And I don't have any type of auto increment set up, so you will have to type that in. So I will make it required for update and required for create, but it's not editable when you're updating a record. And finally, I want to make his height also an integer and required for insert and update. All right, so now you'll see as I did that, it just automatically added the little star on the different columns. If I were to create a new record, you'll see that they're highlighted in red as they are required. I'm going to, now if you do something, one way to undo is maybe I decided I didn't want another dog. Having one 93-pound dog is probably enough dog for me. So I can just simply hit re-download the data and it undoes that insert. Okay, so that is how you would add in or use a different API, a different REST API. There are a few other options as far as, let me see if I can get those to show up here. If I edit this, as far as security goes, oh, where did it go? There it is. As far as security goes, my doorbell's just, oh, good. He didn't ring the bell. I was getting a delivery and I thought it was it's a really long plays music doorbell. So maybe I'd go back to basic authentication like in before, but the plugin does support OAuth 2 and Oracle Fusion Applications Token Relay. So you do have a few other options for security. I'm going to leave that as no auth and I will close that so I don't save anything. But that is a quick and dirty demo on how to, let me go check the list, see if I missed anything, on how to use the plugin. So we went through how to install, update, and remove the add-on. That was fairly simple, connected to a business object in Visual Builder. We changed some of the column data in the spreadsheet. We did some data manipulation, added query criteria. We published the spreadsheet, and that would be the one that you would send out to your user. Created the form over table display, and then showed how to enforce some business rules and connect to the ORDS endpoint. So if you'd like to learn more about any of this, this pretty much is your main link, this Visual Builder add-in link. This will get you to this page over here, which, as I showed at the beginning, has pretty much everything you're going to want to know about how to use the plugin. If you'd like to know more about Visual Builder and Visual Builder Studio in general, we have some blogs located here. And of course, if you go to LinkedIn, you can join our Visual Builder group. Oops, wrong button. That was the button. I will be at Cloud World this year. So if you're going to be at Cloud World and you'd like to try out Visual Builder Studio, I'll be running a hands-on lab that walks through how to go from an FA app to into Visual Builder Studio and create an add-in for a plugin page for the Visual Builder, for the FA app. It's about an hour and a half long lab, and I will be running it 3 times throughout the conference. So I know I've been frustrated in the past trying to join 2 sessions that I want at the same time. So we got it set up so we'll have 3 different sessions. So hopefully you can fit it in for one. But come by, and even if you're not taking the lab, stop by and say howdy. If you come up with questions later, feel free to look me up on Twitter or LinkedIn or YouTube or any of the normal channels, or just send me an email at blaine.carter@oracle.com, and I'll do my best to get you an answer. So apart from that, thank you for spending your time with us.